Snack City isn't going to build itself, so let me show you how to make these air fryer chicken taquitos. You'll be able to store these in your freezer and have easy access to high quality protein in minutes. Serve them with either a cheese sauce or a salsa, and you've got yourself a tasty, filling snack. Here's how to make them. The first step to take is to cook the chicken. I'm going to add 2 pounds or 908 grams of boneless, skinless chicken breast to a pot and cover the chicken with water to cook for 15 to 20 minutes. You can toss these in a slow cooker at the beginning of the day if you wish, you just need to get them cooked and shredded. I'm going to move these back to the big stove and out of the way so I can continue on, but all they're doing back there is taking a 212-degree bath, so you're not missing too much. Next, we can start the tomato sauce that the chicken will be tossed in. Get out a cutting board and chop 1 small onion or 125 grams worth into a dice. That's all the chopping that is required from this recipe, so once you have finished that, you can place a pot over medium-high heat and add in 1 tablespoon or 15 grams of oil. Then the onions can be dumped into the pot, followed by all of the seasonings. Add in 1 tablespoon or 8 grams of chili powder and 2 teaspoons or 6 grams each of paprika, cumin, and garlic powder. Mix those seasonings into the onions and oil and allow them to bloom for about 30 seconds to bring out their flavors. Next, add in 8 ounces or 227 grams of canned diced green chilies. For those of you unfamiliar, here's the product I'm referring to. They are mild peppers with an acidic bite to them, great for applications like this one. Stir those around in the pot and then dump in 1 15-ounce can or 425 grams of crushed tomatoes. Once that has been mixed in, you can bring the pot to a light boil and then reduce the heat to low and allow it to simmer for about 10 minutes. As the tomatoes are stewing down, my chicken has finished, so I can use this time to shred it up. The easiest way to shred chicken is to use an electric mixer, whether that be a stand mixer or a handheld one. If you have to go at it with 2 forks, prepare to break a sweat. I hate shredding chicken by hand, it takes me an eternity. The electric mixers will beat these things up in no time, and you want to make sure that this chicken gets processed down extremely well. Any large chunks of chicken breast left over are going to lead to a hard, less pleasant bite in your taquitos. You want these to be soft and easy to eat, not chewy and tough. If you have to shred it by hand, it may even be necessary to pass a knife through everything after shredding. Now that the chicken is ready to go, place your attention back on the tomato pot. Give it a stir and a taste test, and if the raw tomato flavor has been cooked out, it's ready to go. If not, let it simmer for a few more minutes. Add the shredded chicken into the pot with the tomatoes and stir it until everything is friendly with one another. I think it's a nice touch to throw in about a teaspoon or 4 grams of granulated chicken bouillon. This is optional, but it helps boost the meaty flavor of the filling since it has some of the magical salt MSG in it. Season lightly with salt and pepper and give it a taste test to make sure you're happy with the seasoning levels. Now you're ready to fill the tortillas. I ended up getting 44 taquitos out of this recipe, and I used the yellow corn tortillas, which I find are less likely to crack than the white corn ones are. When you are shopping for your tortillas at the store, try to find the freshest ones available. If there are any that are locally made, those are probably going to be the best. Play around with the package a bit and see how pliable the tortillas are inside. If they seem dry, find another package. You need to heat these before you fill them to make them as flexible and foldable as possible. For whatever reason, the heat from a dry skillet will do this better than steaming or using a microwave will. Add your tortillas to a dry skillet over medium heat and flip them over after a minute or two. If you can't fold them without them cracking, they need longer over the heat. Create some space on your countertop to construct the taquitos and get a sheet pan to hold your finished product. Lay out the tortillas and add a couple of spoonfuls of chicken to each one. I did roughly 30 to 35 grams of filling per tortilla. You'll want to create a system where you run the tortillas in the skillet while you are filling up the ones that have already been heated. These need to be warm as you are rolling them, so don't heat them all up first and then leave them on the counter to prepare to be filled. As you roll them up, place them onto the sheet pan with the seam side down so they stay together. If you need to, you can impale them with a toothpick to assist. About halfway through, I realized I could double up the tortillas in the pan and make this process move by 2 times faster. The inside of the tortillas will be a bit wet from the steam, so just make sure that when you fill them, those sides are facing up. Continue on with your construction until all the chicken has been used up. Once all of your taquitos have been formed and placed onto the sheet pan, they can be moved into your freezer to be flash frozen. Flash freezing in a home kitchen simply means freezing uncovered, ideally in a single layer until things are frozen solid. I finished prepping these at about 2 a.m., so I just tossed them in the freezer and decided it would be tomorrow me's problem to finish them up. When the next morning arrived, I pulled the tray from the freezer and moved the taquitos into a fresh and safe bag from ZWILLING, the sponsor of today's video. As the mayor of Snack City, I have named the Fresh and Safe vacuum system as the leader of our military defense force in the battle against freezer burn, our one true rival. The taquitos get placed into the bags, being cautious not to overfill them, and you want to make sure that they are frozen solid or else the vacuum pressure can squish them. Everything that I make for Snack City goes into one of these vacuum bags to help keep them fresh for up to 5 times longer. When I'm ready for snack time, I can pull a bag from the freezer, take out however many I want to eat, and reseal and re-vacuum the bags to keep the goods protected. To reheat these taquitos, I spray them lightly with oil and then place them into the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 Celsius for about 5 to 7 minutes or until they are crispy and hot throughout. ZWILLING is giving TMPM Nation a deal on the 7-piece vacuum starter set, and if you use the code MEALPREP at checkout, they'll toss you an extra 10 bags for free. If you're interested, I've included a link to the product down below in the description. Shout out ZWILLING. I think the best way to eat these taquitos is with a bit of cheese sauce. You can buy a jar of this from the store if you want ease and speed. However, if you want something that's a bit more macro friendly, here is a 4-ingredient cheese sauce that is surprisingly tasty for how simple it is. Into a blender or a food processor, add 3 tablespoons or 45 grams of 2% milk, 2/3 of a cup or 150 grams of 4% cottage cheese, about 1/2 of a cup or 45 grams of shredded cheddar cheese, and then 1/2 of a teaspoon or 2 grams of Cajun seasoning. Throw this onto the blender and let it go until everything is smooth. It's going to make 4 60-gram servings of the cheese sauce, and you can keep the extra in your fridge for a few days and then just make it on an as-needed basis as you eat through your taquitos. For a 60-gram serving of the cheese sauce, there are about 89 calories and almost 7 grams of protein. For a little trick, if you want to make this more yellow and look like the stuff that comes from the movie theater, you could add in a sprinkling of turmeric. I'll place a serving in the microwave-safe dish and heat it up for about 20 seconds while the taquitos are finishing up in the air fryer. Then you can plate everything up together and you've got yourself an awesome snack for movie night or game time. Each taquito has about 83 calories and 5.7 grams of protein. For reference, the corn tortillas that I used had 50 calories each and about 11 grams of carbs, so if yours are a different size, you'll want to adjust accordingly. Eating them with salsa is another good option, but the cheese sauce is absolutely the way to go in my opinion. Something that should be noted is that if you don't have an air fryer, you should bake these in the oven after you form them. If you have to use the microwave to reheat, you'll need to oven fry them first before you pack them away in the freezer, as your microwave can't produce proper browning. 10 to 15 minutes in a 425 degree oven will probably suffice. The nice thing about the air fryer is that it allows you to freeze them raw, which is faster and easier since you are taking out a step. The written version of the recipe for these chicken taquitos is linked in the description below. Snack cities across the globe are built brick by brick, so it's time to mayor up.